My week starts off with me taking my supplements, luteolin and vitamin C for mast cell stabilisation, and electrolytes to help with my POTS symptoms. If I don't take them, I'm literally just drinking all the time and not absorbing the water properly. And then my low-dose naltrexone, which is used to support the immune system and reduce autoimmunity. It's quite helpful for my POTS actually. And then I also take my herbal prescription to help deal with Lyme. I found it very helpful because I'm not able to take the usual medications for Lyme. And then I played some Roblox. Find the Family Guy is one of my favourite Roblox games. I also have played Find the Simpsons quite a lot. I just find it quite calming because, it doesn't take too much thought. And then I did some colouring. I sat outside and did it. It was really nice. It was sunny. This isn't quite finished, as you can see. And then my dad bought us kebabs, which was amazing because I haven't had one in years. And then I played some Smash Carts, which is one of my favourite games as well. Then I had a bit of a tick episode. Obviously this is sped up and it went on for much longer, but I didn't think you just want to watch a whole video of my face twitching. The next day I had to do a DNA test to see how my body processes certain chemicals and minerals in foods, and then I looked at my Amazon KDP statistics. My mum put my hair in braids whilst it was drying. She washes and does my hair for me, and then when I took the braids out, my hair was all like frizzy. I can't wash or brush my own hair due to chronic illness. Then I made an Instagram post about how teachers can be more inclusive for students with Erland syndrome, and I did some more writing for my book that is hopefully going to come out within the next few months. I'm really excited about that. It's about growing up with OCD and Tourette's and PANS. Then I cuddled with my cat Gizmo. He is an absolute angel, although I say that he's a bit naughty sometimes, but I love him anyway. He's my angel. But then the next day I woke up and I was feeling quite ill. My POTS was flaring up quite a lot, and literally just standing up made me feel like I was going to pass out. I struggled to motivate myself to eat all of my food, so I took some Benadryl to support mitochondrial function to see if that could help at all, but I'm not really sure if it did. Then I watched a documentary about autistic girls, because obviously autism advocacy is a passion of mine, so I love educating myself further. But then I started feeling even more ill, like really nauseous, and when I stood up I felt like I was going to pass out even more, and it took me ages to motivate myself to go and get my electrolyte pills, which could help. So that was obviously quite difficult. But then I managed to get myself irritated by something I saw online, which made me feel even worse. Basically, someone was talking about discrimination and how they were kicked out of university for their mental health condition, and people in the comments were saying, yes, so they can do that. But now I was saying, well, technically that is discrimination. And this guy went, well, explain how it's discrimination then. I'll wait. And I just said, read the Equality Act, so you can see that it's classed as a disability and therefore that's discrimination. I get very frustrated when people don't listen to people with lived experience and kind of just act like they know everything, and then they're like, I'll wait, because they think you'll not be able to explain your point. But discrimination does exist and is serious. Then I just went and scrolled through my Pinterest. I like to save pins about social justice, advocacy, feminism, just stuff that I feel like raises awareness and makes the world a better place. It restores my faith in humanity a little bit when I see people speaking about this stuff, because there are people who care and do want to make the world a better place by raising awareness of these things that, they are dark sometimes, but it's important to talk about them. Unfortunately, after this, something happened that was really scary and unexpected. My cat got really ill. He was struggling to walk and was breathing abnormally, so we had to take him to the emergency vets at right before midnight. Obviously, I didn't film that because it was honestly quite a traumatic experience to see him like that, and that's not something that I'm going to film. But basically they said he had a condition called saddle thrombosis, which is where he had a blood clot, and it was just so unexpected because he was completely fine before this. He's 14 years old, so he is a relatively old cat, but still, he seemed healthy. It was very sudden, and that, it just broke me at the time. It was so scary. And they said he might have a heart condition, meaning that the saddle thrombosis, the clot, may recur. But thankfully they were actually able to treat him. They gave him blood thinners and he was walking within 12 hours, which is incredible. And then he was able to come home with us after a few days. To deal with the stress caused by that, I got myself a ice smoothie the next day because I just felt like I needed a treat. I'd been through so much. And I was watching a YouTube video about a Texas politician who, for some reason, went to an LGBT event and offended himself. It's just wild to watch. People are like that. But then I got quite anxious, obviously, about my cat, because at the time they thought he had a clot still. Turns out, though, actually, they are now thinking he might not have had a clot. It might have been something totally unrelated that was mistaken for a clot. And they also ended up doing a heart scan and finding out his heart's fine. So I am a lot better off now. But at this time, I was obviously very worried. And it flared up my chronic illness quite a lot. And I was struggling to eat solid food. So I had to eat ice cream, which might sound like a treat. But honestly, it was just hard not to eat solid food because I felt so sick from the stress. I was feeling very ill. I literally had to spend so much time laying down because if I sat up, it would feel like the blood's draining from my shoulders and I couldn't move my shoulders properly. It's a very bizarre feeling. I had to take my LDN laying down. LDN is low-dose naltrexone and just snack on crackers. This is my view from my bed. I took a zinc supplement to try and support my immune system. I add in zinc every now and then just for extra support, and I watched some Simpsons. Then I tied my hair up to try and at least make a bit of an effort the next day. I watched some Matt Rose because they make really funny videos, and I got the proof copy of my book through, which it needs to be proofread, and I need to change the cover because I don't like the cover very much anymore. Things need to be aligned a lot better in the cover. And then again, I was struggling to eat solid food, so I just had some custard and a banana. Then again, I was quite anxious about my cat and everything that happened so suddenly, realising that people can get ill and have an accident so suddenly. So I watched some Dan and Phil to cheer myself up a little bit. They are some of my favourite YouTubers. I've been watching them since I was 14. And then I cuddled my cat Paloma. She is so wonderful. I have 5 cats, if you're wondering. And then I did some research on neuroimmune conditions and genetic conditions. I've been reading stuff about this since I was 12 years old. It's a big special interest of mine. I just find it so interesting. So here's a little bit of a snippet of some of the articles and posts and stuff that I was reading. I just find it interesting, and I think it's helpful to be aware of this stuff. But then the next day I was watching Family Guy, and it's my favourite show, don't get me wrong, but I was so frustrated because they made a joke basically saying that fibromyalgia wasn't real, or that, well, basically they said that people just use it as an excuse to get out of things, and I don't have fibro myself, but because I'm chronically ill, I'm very sensitive to that kind of stuff in the media, because it just normalises that kind of terrible attitude. And then I got my low-dose naltrexone capsules, which was really good because I take both the liquid and the capsules. But yeah, then I was feeling ill again and just very frustrated about the stuff that I see in the media making fun of mental illness and stuff, and struggling with medical trauma. So I spoke to AI about the medical trauma stuff because it just messed up. I saw a Reddit post where doctors were talking about how they think their patients are making it up and stuff when they're not, and it just shows how neglectful and dismissive some doctors can be. And I also saw a thing in my local Facebook group, about how someone was asking why so many of the GP surgeries have really bad ratings, and unfortunately one of the doctors just said, oh, that's because we do the medically right thing to do and patients don't like that. And I was thinking, like, well, actually, when you dismiss your patients and they leave a negative review, that's not the medically right thing to do. You should take accountability and say sorry and not dismiss your patients so much. So I was very frustrated about all of that, obviously. But this is a very quick recap of a week in my life, dealing with chronic illness and everything else that goes along with it.